Hi there. We're joined again by John Zumsteg. John, thanks for joining us again. We really appreciate you coming here.
Thank you for having me.
So, tell us how you planned your career in project management.
Planned my career?
Or how it happened.
Yeah, I can't honestly say that I did much planning on my career. It just kind of happened. Boy, it's a long time ago. I had a job in which I took over the project management of a big kind of mission critical project. And I have to say, I didn't know what I was doing. And I really did not have any idea what to do. I learned pretty quickly, and we got the project to a point where it was going to be successful. And I got another one. I thought I had better learn something about project management. So I started taking some courses and kind of learned the basics about how to do it. So that was really helpful. And then I was able to do a couple projects that actually were successful in terms of planning and getting things done and doing it the right way. And after that, I went to work doing consulting in project management. One of the companies that I had done some work for, a consulting company that I'd done some work with, hired me. So I started working on projects as a consultant, and that's where I did a lot of mentoring and coaching, because we could go into a project and we'd say, geez, here's what's going on with this project, and it doesn't look like it's going well or it's going well. And the first question was, if it's not going well, how should we be doing it? So that was where I started to learn to teach and to coach and mentor, and I really like that part of project management, is coaching and mentoring project managers. So I did that, and then I kind of went back and forth. I would do some consulting with coaching and mentoring, and then I would do a project, and I ended up my career doing a pretty interesting, pretty high pressure project. And at the end, I kind of said, I'm going to take a break here. And that break's lasted a few years.
I know you've been to France a few times.
And I've been able to do some teaching for project management. So I've stayed in touch, and I've done a couple small projects. But yeah, I can't say that I ever planned any of it. It just kind of evolved as my life evolved, and I'm not sure I'd do it a different way, actually.
Okay. And so you said you took a couple classes. Were there anything else that you did to develop your competencies along the way?
Yeah, so I realized, at any point where I realized that my competency wasn't where I wanted it to be, I would try to get some skills built. Project Management Institute's got a ton of good information about that. There are other websites now that have all kinds of information online that you can get help on. And just tried to fill in the areas that I knew I needed some help on. An example is earned value management. When all of a sudden I realized, this was some years ago, that I ought to learn what it was, I started just taking some courses on it online, learned what it was all about. So there's a ton of really good online information, but really it's hands-on experience that it's all about.
Yeah, I agree. So what advice would you give others who want to enter the field of IT project management?
Other than don't do it? No, it's pretty, I mean, it's a pretty interesting way to be working in projects. Well, I would say the first thing is just hands-on experience, as much as you possibly can get. Honestly, I've learned far more from the hands-on experience particularly on high-pressured projects in trouble, which is, that's where you're learning under pressure, and you really got to know it. I just think the more experience you get, the more hands-on experience you get, the more you learn. But I also think you back it up with formal training. And as I say, the Project Management Institute has just a ton of information on that. But there's all kinds of places online that you can look to fill in specific areas. So there's lots of ways to do that. But ultimately, you got to use it.
Yep,
That's where you'll learn.
So what about the certifications like the PMP, the Scrum Master, things like that? What do you think? What do you think about those, and are they useful?
Yeah, I think they're definitely useful. Now, I have to say, I did a lot of project management before I became a PMP, and I was a little skeptical of it. But then when I did get it, I learned a lot. I learned a lot about the processes, and there were a number of times as I was learning that I looked at some aspect of the PMP and thought, gee, I wish I'd known that on some project. So they really are helpful to kind of solidify your training. But I also think that it's the hands-on stuff that's really important. And if you have a lot of hands-on experience with projects, a lot of painful experience sometimes with projects, then the PMP makes more sense to you because you realize there are areas that would have been helpful for you to do it. But I certainly don't think that PMP makes you a successful project manager. Right. It really requires a lot of hands-on, doing it in the trenches, painful 20-hour day project management to be a good project manager.
Right, right. So what advice would you give others about how to learn about and develop competencies related to their desired job?
Do it. Just get in there, wade in and do it, yeah. And it's funny. I think that the projects that I have learned the most on were the most painful projects I did. Projects that got in trouble, projects I took over because they were in trouble, projects where we had difficulties in all different aspects of it. Those were the ones that, as painful as they were the ones that I came away learning the most from. So I think that there is the hands-on, difficult project experience that is really helpful. But there's a lot of formal training. The fact is there's all kinds of online formal training. There's classes like you're teaching and like I teach that are really, really helpful because they give you the foundation and the fundamentals so that as things under the pressure of the project, you think, I remember learning about that. I remember doing this in class. I remember hearing something about that. And even if you don't remember it exactly, you know there are disciplines that you can fall back on and you can go find out where they are and learn about that. So I think it's really helpful to do that.
So it's really hard for people to start out as a project manager. What would you suggest that they do? I get this question all the time from students.
How do
I become a project manager? What should I do? What role should I take? Where should I go?
Well, first off is to have some project experience. You just have to understand the processes of the project and why you do things in certain ways as opposed to just wading in there. You know, my first project, I did not know a thing about project management, and it showed. Yeah. It was not exactly my most successful project. So, you know, I would say that it's just get experience. There's all kinds of online material and there's all kinds of classes like we teach, and they're all valuable. You're going to learn something from every one of them. So just keep wading in. On a project, I think that most project managers would be more than happy to have someone come and say, I really want to be a project manager. A project manager. How can I learn that on this project? What roles can I take? What responsibilities I can take that would help me learn that? And as a project manager, I can tell you, I love to have someone come and ask me that because I unload all the hard stuff on them.
Yeah, like the schedules and the taking the hours and the updating the status and writing the status reports. I, as a project manager, loved it when I had junior consultants that would come and do that for me. So, yeah, that would be a great way to get into a project.
And I don't know a project manager who isn't glad to have someone come in and say, I really want to learn this stuff.
Right.
So if I were, starting on projects, I would have loved my first project to have had someone I could have gone to with that. And I didn't, and it showed. Mm-hmm. And so anytime as a project manager, I've had someone say, can you teach me this? I am more than happy to spend time with them. And I think most project managers are.
So you can delegate, right?
Delegate, that's it. Yeah, that's it. Like I did with you.
Yeah, exactly. Made me do all the hard work.
Yeah, but I don't want to do this.
That's how I learned.
Would you do it?
But exactly. That's how I learned.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks again, John.
Thank you.